You're listening to the Confidence Within podcast. If you are a successful professional entrepreneur who is nonetheless struggling with the fear of public speaking, then you are in the right place. This podcast is all about igniting your inner confidence, learning to show up with genuine authority and brilliance, and becoming the best version of yourself. I'm your host, Victoria Lesnyansky, and welcome to my show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Confidence Within podcast. Today's episode was prompted by the conversation I had with my clients yesterday on a coaching call inside my Brilliant Speakers Academy coaching program. We were talking about negative thoughts, and I thought it's such a great discussion, and I would love to share with you some of the things we've talked about. Because the thing is, we all get negative thoughts. I would absolutely lie if I said, oh no, I never get negative thoughts. Oh no, whenever a negative thought comes, it just goes away immediately. No, of course, I'm just as susceptible to negative emotions and negative thoughts like anybody else. It's just I am learning and I'm working on handling those negative thoughts in a certain way. And of course, again, you know me, if you've been around me for a little bit, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that I am trying to create a system, a framework around everything I do and everything I teach. So, of course, I've been trying to build some sort of a system around negative thoughts so that they don't create a big hassle in my life. And I want to share this framework with you. So let's talk about negative thoughts and negative emotions. First of all, let me say, I don't think we can completely stop our negative thoughts. I just don't think it's humanly possible. Okay, maybe there are some people who never ever experience negative thoughts. Maybe there are a few of those. But for the most part, for most of us, negative thoughts will come whether we want it or not. So you can't stop them from attacking your brain, but you certainly can change the way you handle them. What happens when we do get a negative thought? Most of the time, what we do is we focus on it. Personally, I think the worst thing we can do is to dwell on our negative thoughts. I'm sure you've done it. I know I've done it. It creates a really bad environment inside your mind because what we focus on becomes our reality, right? And the more we focus on a negative thought, the more we are analyzing it and reanalyzing it, and the more our emotions get involved. It's not really that a negative thought is so bad. It's just we get emotionally vested in that negative thought in such a bad way that we literally cannot think of anything else. And everything we do, everything we say, everything we think about from that moment on, sometimes for the rest of the day, is colored by that negative thought. And that's why it's so important to stop dwelling on it as soon as possible, right? Now, I'm not suggesting we always ignore our negative emotions, but there is a difference between ignoring the negatives and not focusing on them. Though sometimes ignoring a negative thought does work, especially when it's something that's not really a big deal and it's just a small negative thought and you think of it in passing, you can literally ignore it. You can tell yourself, no, I'm not going to think about it. No, I'll think about it some other day. I know it sounds like I'm suggesting we sweep something under the rug and not think about it, but really, some of the negative emotions and some of the negative thoughts we get are so passing. We never think about it again. Some of the things are so insignificant, so in the moment, and if we don't focus on those thoughts right away and allow our mind to just ignore them for a little bit, they may never come back. So again, something small, try to ignore. Tell yourself, I'll think about it some other time, and move on with your life. Think about something else. But what if it's something so nagging that it keeps on coming back? Or what if this negative thought is really valid and it feels like it makes a lot of logical sense and you just cannot get rid of it? Well, then ignoring is not going to work. We need to do something different. So take your negative thought and tell yourself, yes, I feel this way. This is something that's going through my mind right now. But it doesn't necessarily mean I need to continue feeling this way. Acknowledge the emotion, acknowledge that negative thought. It is real, it's not going away, I'm going to deal with it. And the way you deal with it is you logically prove to yourself why this negative thought is wrong. Think of any logical reason. And the reason I want you to use logic is that logic usually helps us analyze something and come to a conclusion that makes sense. But in this particular scenario, I want you to analyze it from the perspective that this negative thought is not valid. And then you logically prove to yourself why it is not valid. There may be an ounce of truth in it, there may be some truth in it, okay? But your job is to find why it is not completely valid, why it is not correct. And then replace the negative thought with a positive thought based on your logical proof. Give it a positive spin and reframe it, rephrase it so that it is positive and not negative. But here is the thing, it has to ring true. It has to ring true to you. It may not ring true to everyone, but it has to ring true to you. Otherwise, you're not going to believe yourself, and then the negative thought is going to win over and you won't be able to get rid of it. So find some proof how you can replace this negative thought that is not 100% true with a positive thought. And if there is some truth in that negative thought, then decide on the course of action how you can improve whatever that thought is about. But you have to find a tangible way to improve it. Like literally come up with an action step or several action steps that you're going to take and put a timeline on it. And here is why it works. When we are able to logically prove to ourselves why something that's nagging us, why something that's really weighing us down is not true or not entirely true, and we come up with a tangible way of improving whatever was true in that negative thought, then all of a sudden we feel a burst of optimism. We are able to replace the negative emotion with a positive emotion and then follow through on your action plan. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a brand new project. It could be at work that you assigned a brand new project, or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you signed a new client and now you have a new project. Either way, it's pretty much the same scenario. You have a brand new project and the same negative thought keeps on knocking on your brain. I'm not good enough. I'm gonna fail at this project. Why did I sign up for this? Why did I get this client? Should I call and refund the money? I am going to ruin my reputation. I'm going to ruin this project. I'm going to get fired. I don't know what I'm doing. I am not good at my job, right? Which is really, for the most part, your imposter syndrome kicking in. And I did talk about the imposter syndrome with therapist Irina Mark a few episodes ago, so definitely listen to that. If you haven't, that was a great conversation. But let's talk about what you do with that thought. I am not good enough. I am going to fail. If you dwell on that thought and you continue thinking about it, you know what your brain is going to do? Your brain is going to helpfully give you lots of proof why what you're thinking is right. Because you're focusing on it. Remember what I said in the beginning, whatever you focus on becomes your reality. That's how our brain works. It's unfair, but that's how it works. It literally feeds you proof when you're focusing on something why what you're focusing on is true. And if you keep on thinking, I'm not good enough, sure enough, your brain will find lots of examples why you're not good enough, you're not qualified for this project, you're gonna ruin the project, you're gonna get fired, you're gonna lose the client, whatever doom scenario you're thinking about. You will get plenty of proof from your brain that you're right. And so instead, acknowledge the thought. Okay, I'm catching myself thinking those thoughts. I'm catching myself thinking that I'm not good enough and I'm going to fail. All right, let's focus on finding the logical proof why I am good enough, why I am not going to fail at this. why I can make this project a success. Think deep. Look at your prior experiences. Look at other projects. Look at what you've done maybe at another company or with another client. Remind yourself of your wins. Remind yourself why you are good enough. You may not be as great as someone else. You may not be as great as you will be in 10 years, but as of today, you're good enough. And find logical, real proof why I am good enough statement is correct in your specific case. And then think if there is an ounce of truth in this whole, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't know anything about this, I'm gonna fail. Now, you only do this after you convince yourself that you are smart, you're knowledgeable, you know what you're doing, you have experience with something like this, you won't fail. Now you can look for an ounce of truth. Ask yourself, is there a reason why all of these negative thoughts are piling in my head right now? Is there an ounce of truth in I may not know enough? And then dig deep again. What don't I know that's critical in this particular scenario? What don't I know that I need to know, that I need to learn, that I need to have experience in, and how I can make it happen? And that could be educating yourself. That could be talking to a mentor. That could be talking to somebody who has experience in this particular situation. It could be reading a book. It could be watching training videos. It could be anything that will give you that missing piece, or at least a part of it. And once you decide on the course of action, you need to put a timeline on it. Of course, in our example, if you've just signed a client, if you've just got assigned to a project, it needs to be ASAP. So you decide tonight, I am actually going to do a very thorough research online. I am going to figure out everything that I think I don't know, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to learn it as fast as possible. I'm going to figure out who I need to talk to. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to find that mentor that's going to walk me through if I don't know something. And then you replace that negative thought with a positive thought. And in our example, it could be as simple as replacing I am not good enough with I am not good enough yet. That yet makes all the difference in the world. And as soon as you replace I'm not good enough with I'm not good enough yet, you will realize that the negative thought and the negative energy that you're feeling is becoming less and less prominent, is becoming more and more foggy, and it's getting replaced by a sense of optimism. And this sense of optimism, coupled with your tangible action steps that you decided on, your tangible ideas of what you're going to do next, will propel you forward, will allow you to completely step away from the negativity and move yourself into the positivity territory. So try it this week. Okay, I'm not wishing a negative thought on you this week, but if it does happen, then please try out my framework, and I hope that you will be able to overcome your negative thoughts a lot quicker and a lot more effectively. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. And of course, if your negative thoughts are all about being afraid of public speaking and dreading the next presentation, the next meeting, the next interview, or the next live stream, then you should definitely check out my Brilliant Speakers Academy coaching program. And you can read more about it at www.brilliantspeakersacademy.com. I cannot wait to hear from you, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye for now.